Hello and welcome. Today we're going to talk about something a little bit different. We're going to go off of the standard scheduled units and we're going to go over circles. Today we're just going to start with the anatomy of a circle. Specifically, how do you actually identify a line? I'm aware that the vast majority of you know what a circle radius and diameter are, but naming them might be a bit tricky. In general, if you are given a center point, typically we won't ask you to name the circle. That's a bit redundant. We would just ask you where the center is. The center or the name of the circle would be point R. So we would write that as just capital letter R. This is partially the reason why you do not use capital variables whenever you are working on equations and expressions. That's because the variables are usually reserved as capitalized for labels, like labeling shapes. Next up, we have the radius. There are 3 different radius for this right here. The first radius is going to be from R to U, and we would label that as writing capital R, capital U, and we're going to draw a line segment over top of it. That lets us know that this is a continuous line that starts at point R and ends at point U. The next one is going to be from RT, so RT with a line over it. And the last one is RS. It will start at point R and end at point S. And this is how you would label what a radius is. The last part we're going to identify is our diameter. This shape only has one diameter. Matter of fact, I believe they all only have one diameter. The diameter for this shape will be from point U to point T. So we will label that as point UT and draw a line over it. Now, there is not necessarily a right or wrong order for writing these points. If we were doing a coordinate graph, there would be a right and a wrong order, because you would have to plot it in the order that you are drawing the dots. In this case, there is not a correct and incorrect order. RU and UR are both equally correct. Personally, I always start with the center point and radiate outwards. Other people have the mentality of starting outwards and going inwards. But that's just a personal preference. You are not right or wrong if you start from one point or the other. Let's see. For the next one, number 2, we have our center or our circle, which we will call circle F. Our radius or radii, since there are multiple radiuses, would be FJ, FH, and FG. So FJ, FH, and FG. And the beauty of labeling things like this is because you draw those lines segmenting like that, you can kind of skip the step of drawing the commas to separate your answers. And the diameter, HJ. Or JH, whichever you prefer. Number 3, circle is going to be circle Q. Radii are at QS, QT, and QR. My diameter is from S to T. And this is all there is to identifying parts of a shape. It doesn't go too much deeper than this. There is another part that is not labeled on this shape. It's something that we will be working on finding starting the next part of the unit. And that's going to be this green line that I'm going to be drawing, or attempting to draw. You guys have had me for long enough in this school year that you know how bad my drawing abilities really are. But that green line would be my circumference. And this is something we'll be working on finding in the next part of our unit, but I wanted to make sure that we got started just by making sure we understood what all the parts of the shape were. So I'm going to give you a moment, if you haven't already, to do the rest of this worksheet. I went over the first 3, and pause the video now because when I uncover the camera, your answers will all be revealed. And as promised, here are the rest of the answers to the worksheet. 4 through 9, if you need to double check any of these, pause your video. Some of them might have been a silly mistake, just reading a little bit too fast. Number 8 in particular could have just been you couldn't see the L hidden behind the diameter right there. But that is a letter L, and this is all there is for identifying parts of a circle. Next time, we will be going over how to find circumference and area, but that section will not be unlocked until you have finished this at the very least. In the meantime, that's all. If you are curious what a good stopping point is for each part of the lesson, I think I've already linked that in the announcements section, but in case I forgot to, it's usually about like 15 to 20 minutes per day. That should be more than enough for my class. And that is all. Take care.